Hi. So there's so much I want to talk about, but been so busy and also not so busy uh, that it's kind of difficult. Anyways, in one of my other videos, I was talking about three movements that are going on, three political movements. One is Justice Democrats, and that's with TYT, Cenk Uygur, and Secular Talks Kyle Kulinski seems to be spearheading the movement to reform the Democratic Party. And I even did a video on strategies to, there are flaws with that strategy and how to shore up those deficiencies. I have a very high probability, in my opinion, that it's not going to work. So the other is Samuel Ronan, which I also, I think I did a video on. Basically, you can see his interviews with Tim Black, interview with Lee Camp from Redacted Tonight, and Jimmy Dore. And same thing. Third political movement is with the former Bernie Sanders staffer. He was the national political coordinator, outreach coordinator for Bernie Sanders, and his name is Nick Brana. I hope I'm saying his name right. You can see the same interviews with him on Tim Black, Lee Camp, on Redacted Tonight, and Jimmy Dore show. I'll provide all those links for you and below. You probably already seen them, but if you haven't, you can just jump from one independent news source to another. So you can see here, this is the draftbernie.org. The cool thing is you can donate to the party. It's kind of like an escrow. They won't take the donated money unless Bernie Sanders actually joins the party. That's why it's Draft Bernie for People's Party. If Bernie Sanders declines, then you get your money back. And I think they'll reassess what their plan is for having another party out there. And I think of those three political movements, this is the most strategically viable idea. And the more political parties there are, actually, the better. And I'll discuss why in a bit. One thing that I'm going to switch back and forth is just draft Bernie suggestions. It's the, strategically, what do they need to do to actually beat the current, what I say, it's a two-party duopoly, but I say it's a one-party duopoly because the Democrats and the Republicans are basically the same, two sides of the same coin. I'm not sure if I say the terminology right. I'm horrible at at sayings, especially when I'm on camera talking to nobody and talking to, well, the 6 people that are now viewing my videos now. All right, so let's start by showing you the videos. Oh wow, Alt tab does not work. Tim Black, Jimmy Dore. He's got 4 videos, separate videos, and you've got Lee Camp. Now, the first strategy that they need to focus on, and it's gonna be a lot of work, and I think the 3 movements that are happening right now are actually beneficial. So first one is exposing the DNC and RNC as a one-party duopoly, and that's very wordy, I'll admit, and it basically, I hate doing this, duopoly. Sorry, I waste a lot of time doing all this, but basically, a situation where 2 suppliers dominate the market for a commodity or service. But it's I mean, two sides of the same coin, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. You know, you've Democrats, you've got millionaires and billionaires, and Republicans, you have millionaires and billionaires. So to expose that, it's pretty simple. I think independent media is going to have to do it because corporate media is not going to. And there were a lot of actual articles and things like that in the past. I remember reading. I didn't really take much account to it because I really wasn't into politics. I mean, I'm not really into politics. It's just when you study history, you end up studying religion. You end up studying politics because they're all kind of intertwined. So, okay, so exposing the DNC and RNC as one party duopoly. Part of that is follow the big donors. Follow the big donors. What is it? They hedge the bets for both parties. So what that means, what that means is these big donors, they're actually giving money not just to the Democratic Party, not just to the Republican Party, but both. So why would they do that? Why would you give money to two different parties? I mean, well, the answer to that is because you're expecting whoever wins, they're going to pay you back. So the investment is worth it to give money to both. Because if you're only paying money to one side and they lose, you're not going to get anything from the other side. So if you actually pay money for both sides, you're going to get something in return. You might even get more than what you put in. So you might have lost some for here, you might gain it here, etc. Anyways, I don't know how I can really explain that very well, so maybe I won't. Anyways, we follow the money. So exposing the DNC and RNC as one party duopoly. That's the first strategy. And I think exposing the DNC as not is not salvageable, I guess. And this is great because Samuel Ronan, it's late, it's 1:23, you know, I gotta work in 6 hours, so wake up in 6 hours, my mind's not there. Exposing DNC as not salvageable, Samuel Ronan's gonna do that. Maybe it's his strategy, maybe it's not, but he's revealing a lot of things that the most Democrats or even independents don't realize about how the DNC operates, and he's gonna actually show how it's not up to the delegates. It's really up to the establishment. So that's gonna be a big deal, and what the draft Bernie would need to do is, it's a high likelihood that Sam Ronan isn't going to be the DNC chair, and they're going to need him. He's someone they need to recruit for, not just for Bernie Sanders, but they're going to need him. Now, there is a theory of mine, that a strategic theory, that the Democratic Party, whoever's up there in charge, they would have Sam Ronan as DNC chair. And that would bring back a lot of progressives, and that would make it seem like the DNC is listening, and they're going to expand their base to the left, not just to the right, and they were gonna find a way to screw the people, the progressives. They don't really care about the progressives. They don't really care about Sam Ronan. What they're gonna do is probably pull the chair out from under him during a big election cycle like in 2018 or 2020, reinstate a chairperson that they want, put in a candidate that they want, and that's it. No, so that's my theory. So that's what I would do as the evil head of the DNC operative puppet master. I don't know what you would call it. Okay, so exposing the DNC as not salvageable. Sam Ronan and Root Ronan and let's see. You're gonna have to unite the clans. Okay. Maybe not the clans. Am I showing this? Okay, good. Unite the clans. I mean third parties. Why? And actually, let me get to that later. You're gonna need to do one thing. You're gonna have to unite the. Oh, actually, no, that's great. It all fits. Unite clans. I mean third parties. I mean independent media. So independent media is going to be big. Corporate media is going to start losing a lot of money. I mean, I don't think they're making a lot of money now. Once their shtick or whatever it is, their thing dies down, their journalistic integrity, people aren't going to view them for the news. They're just going to view them for entertainment. I don't even watch them anymore unless I'm doing specific research. So the independent media are going to have to band together, and they kind of are in some ways, but not really. One of the things that they need to stop doing is taking stories that corporate media presents and then just expanding their own coverage on that, their own commentary on corporate news narratives. So they really need to stop with that. Get people to see all the grassroots level things, grassroots level news, things that corporate media aren't covering, because when independent media start covering stories that corporate media is telling stories, it's just the same thing. No one really cares. What they care about is the stuff that people really want to know. People really want to find out that the corporate media is not covering it. Tim Black is covering it. H.A. Goodman's covering it. Jimmy Dore's covering it. TYT Politics is covering it. Humanist Report's covering it. Secular Talk's covering it, right? You've got a couple other independent media that are covering it. So they need to really unite, and because that's going to be important. And why? Because third parties. Why is that going to be great? Because in 2016 you had Jill Stein and the Libertarian Gary Johnson. They weren't allowed in the debates. It was just basically Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And there were, I believe, three debates. And Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, and maybe there was another that had their own debates online. Or at least Jill Stein she was doing, answering the debate questions just online, but it was just a small following. So this is where independent media gets big. When you have all these independent media kind of pitching in creating wide viewership, they can make the internet viewership really really viable. So third parties. Now, if you got the Libertarian Party, you've got the Green Party, you get the Draft Bernie Sanders Party. Maybe there's another fourth party out there that wants to decouple from either Democratic Party or Republican Party. You're going to have a lot more exciting debate as opposed to just a Democrat and Republican that are really not talking about the issues, not talking about policies. You can see that, they're going to still do the whole political game. And then while all these people are viewing, it's probably going to be Donald Trump and Hillary again for 2020. But basically, you want each party, third party, you want each party to support each other. Why? Because you don't want either a Democrat or Republican to make it into the office, whether it's Congress or the presidency. And if both the Democratic Party and Republican Party unite, they stand a chance. They might reach 40% of the voting population. But the more that they unite, the more that people see the first part, exposing the DNC and RNC as a one-party duopoly. So that might actually bring a lot more people in, a lot more people to actually unite, and you form this huge, I would say, multiple grassroots movement, because it's not just progressives. You've got libertarians, you've got Greens, and you've got Republicans and Democrats who just really don't want more millionaires and billionaires and private corporations taking over, giving power to these private corporations through the government. And that's where it's headed, and people are seeing it finally. And you could see all these protests, all these strikes, all these little movements going on, and that's because of they're starting to wake up. So that's kind of it. I mean, when you watch when you're viewing the entire presidential election, and it's a long election process, what was actually more exciting to watch? The primaries. The primaries were more exciting to watch than the actual Democratic nominee versus the Republican nominee. And so when you actually have these third parties talking about these policies, issues, how they would handle it, the type of people that they would have inside government, and you talk about their values and how they stood fast on what they actually said and did. They can't they can't actually match up against the Democratic or Republican nominee because they lie, right? So I think I'll settle on these three. There's probably more, but I'm coming off the top of my head. This is just the way to do it. You've got to expose them, and the more that they unite, the more they're gonna fall, and that's how you're gonna unite more people to join the causes. Not necessarily, basically, all the third parties, fourth party, fifth party, whatever, sixth party. The more that there are, and the more they support each other, basically ousting the RNC and DNC. Can you imagine that? That's going to be big. That's huge, because not only are people no longer going to be running as Democrats and Republicans, they're going to want to run as a third party because they know that the third parties are going to be the stronger party to be in rather than the old establishment way of running things. it's going to be tough. It's going to be a long process. A lot of people need to be involved, but I think people are knowing that you need allies. And if we want our government back, how if we want our Constitution and our freedoms back, we're gonna have to do this. This is not just me. This is not just someone else. It's all of us. And that kind of brings me back to like stories of heroes. I think, I'm not sure if it's just movies or whatnot, but it's always that hero, right? Just that one hero that comes and saves everybody. And I think a lot of people are always just waiting for that one hero, but what they don't realize is that's just the storybooks. The real heroes are multiple people coming together and forming unions and forming allied parties and things like that. They come together and they fight against a form of oppression. And it's not just one person that ends the oppression. It's everyone coming together. That hero, usually, it's not like a Hercules, that one superhuman, powerful, whatever, super godlike person, doing everything alone. That person might lead a movement that, everyone can focus on, but there's it's not always usually that case. When you read through actual history, it's multiple people, multiple leaders, all banding together to confront usually the one bad person, right? Not the one hero, one villain thing, but multiple heroes against one major villain is what it is. So I know I kind of dragged on this, but hopefully people can see the idea of where they need to go. Now the problem is, if the RNC and DNC are smart, they've got counters to this. I mean, they control the mainstream media, they control the government right now, they control private corporations, they control they don't control the banks. The banks control them, probably. I mean, it's an uphill, very uphill battle. So they're smart. They've got resources. They've got strongmen. So once we see what they're doing, you've got to adjust. That's tactical situations right there. I think the best, another quote, was it Tartakower? I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was Tartakower. Let me look it up. So Tartakower was a chess player. Quote strategy. I don't know how I remember and forget so many things. Okay, so here it goes. Tactics is what you do when there's something to do. Strategy is what you do when there's nothing to do. It kind of makes sense. Alright, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this helps. And hopefully we band together, because that's what we need to do.